Broncos country, welcome back to another video. My name is Parker. First and foremost, I just ask that you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, as the support is greatly appreciated, and I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the time the Super Bowl gets here. So if you could help me reach that goal, that would be awesome. Now, with that being said, let's jump into this. Today, I am going to be going and giving my Broncos 2022-2023 season awards for you guys. This is going to include the most improved player, MVP, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, rookies of the year, all that good stuff. That's going to be in this video, and it's going to be based on who I think deserves those rewards. So if you think different players deserve different rewards, or if you disagree with my players and someone else deserves that award, that's fine. Just, you can disagree respectfully in the comment section below and let me know who your picks are. And as always, I want to remind you that Jesus is King. I pray that you give your life to him. He's got a plan and a purpose for you. And I just hope that you accept Jesus with your whole heart and believe that he died on the cross for your sins. Because if you believe that he died on the cross for your sins, it's by grace through faith we're saved. It's not through our works. And if you truly believe he died on the cross for your sins, then you'll go to heaven. It's that simple. It's that easy. And a lot of people are going to get mad at me for sharing this information. But I feel it's important as a Christian to share. So that's why I am going to share it, and I do think it's very important and very powerful. Now, with that being said, let's jump into the rewards, and we're going to start off with the most improved player of the year, and it's my favorite player on the team, and it is Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy, to me, he had a solid rookie season, and then last year, his sophomore season, he dealt with some injuries, so he didn't really get that full year, and then in this game, or not this game, but this year, he actually had a very solid season, and he's my favorite player, so of course I'm glad to see that. But it says he's played in 15 games, which is true, which is too shy of 17 games, but 2 of those games he only played the very start of the first quarter before going out with injuries. So it's really like he played 13 games this season, but that's neither here nor there. And this season, he had 67 receptions on 100 targets for 1,012 all-purpose yards. 972 of those were receiving yards, while the other 40 were rushing yards. And he had 6 touchdowns. Of course, he had that 3-touchdown game versus Kansas City. Next season, I'd like to, obviously, towards the end of the season, we saw Jerry Jeudy get the ball a ton, and I truly do believe he's the team's wide receiver 1 now. But I'd like to see him get more involved, especially more down in the red zone, getting him those touchdowns, because 6 touchdowns, well, it is a 3-touchdown improvement from his rookie year, because he had 3 touchdowns his rookie year, no touchdowns last year, and then 6 this year. I'd like to see that number increase next year. But yeah, in my opinion, there's no question about it that Jerry Jeudy is the most improved player this year for the Broncos. Next up, we have the comeback player of the year for the Broncos, and that is going to be linebacker Josey, Jewell. Now, last year, Josey Jewell played in 2 games before tearing his pectoral muscle, and he missed the remainder of the season. But this year, Josey Jewell came back with a force, and in 13 games, having 70 solo tackles, 58 assist tackles, 128 total tackles. He defended 4 passes, had 2 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles on the season. I remember I made a video last offseason saying the Broncos re-signed Josey Jewell and how I like that move, and a lot of you guys disagree, which, it's fine, but Josey Jewell really improved his game this past season. In the past, you could rely on him to help stop the run and then rush the passer a little bit. But in the coverage game, I felt like he was a little weaker. But this season, Josey Jewell, honestly, he impressed me, and he really had improved his cover skills this year. And so that's why I think comeback player of the year has got to be Josey Jewell. He could also be the most improved player on the team as well. But to me, Josey Jewell is by far the best option for the comeback player of the year, having only played 2 games last season and then coming back and being very dominant at the linebacker position for the Broncos, a position where we all thought, this position is pretty weak. And while I do think there can be some upgrades there, Josey Jewell is very, very solid, and he's a very solid linebacker, and he's under contract for 1 more year before he needs a new contract, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah, Josey Jewell, to me, is a comeback player of the year for the Broncos. Next up, we're going to start with the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I'm going to give this one to Greg Dulcich. Now, there were really three options that the Broncos could have chosen for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Of course, there's Greg Dulcich. Then there is Montrell Washington. So tight end Greg Dulcich, wide receiver Montrell Washington, or center guard Luke Wattenberg. And to me, the clear option was Greg Dulcich. In 10 games, having 33 receptions on 55 targets, going for 411 yards and 2 touchdowns. Well, not super productive. He did miss a lot of time. He missed the first 4 games of the season. Then he played in 10 games, and then he missed the remaining games of the season. So I do think there is some improvement for Dulcich, but it's a solid start. I think he emerged as the wide receiver 1 because he can stretch that field vertically, and he was very impressive when he was on the field. So yeah, I do think he took the tight end 1 job from Albert Okwuegbunam. I do think there is some improvement for Dulcich still, but I think he is a very viable option in the receiving game. Maybe can clean up the blocking a little bit and improve in that area. But to me, Greg Dulcich is the Offensive Rookie of the Year for the Broncos. As for Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going with cornerback Damarri Mathis. Now, of course, the other options are Nick Benito, of course, Damarri Mathis, Ioma Uwazurike, Delarrin Turner-Yell, Matt Henningsen, and then, of course, there's other guys, Fionn Hicks. There's undrafted guys, Jaquan McMillan. But to me, Damarri Mathis is the clear Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was thrust into that cornerback 2 role with Ronald Darby going down, with Kawan Williams dealing with some injuries, and a bunch of other guys dealing with injuries. So he had that 4 defensive pass interference game against the Chargers in his first start. I think 2 of those were a bit wishy-washy, but that's neither here nor there. To me, he really has impressed. I think there's some little things that he needs to clean up in his technique, but I think very, very soon he will be a very solid starting cornerback opposite of Pat Surtain. You know, obviously you have Pat Surtain shadow the wide receiver 1, and then you have Damarri Mathis there as well. I think he can be a very solid corner. It just needs to work on cleaning some stuff up. I don't know if he's going to be Tariq Woolen, Sauce Gardner level, but, you know, maybe he could. That's a little bit, extreme. He'll have to have a crazy season, but you know, Damarri Mathis is someone who I liked coming into this draft, this past draft, and you know, someone who I think has been really solid for the Broncos, and I can't wait to see how year 2 goes for Damarri Mathis. In 16 games with the Broncos this season, I think he was inactive for the final game, mostly due to an injury. That's why he was inactive. But he had 54 solo tackles, 11 assist tackles, 65 total tackles. He's defended 7 passes, and he had no interceptions on the year. But I do expect that to change next season, especially with Surtain guarding the wide receiver and shadowing the wide receiver 1s for the opponents, for our opponents, I should say. Next up, Coach of the Year, I'm going with Defensive Coordinator Ejiro Evero. And if you look here at the points allowed to the teams we faced, I mean, it's very impressive. Seahawks week 1, 17 points. Texans week 2, 9 points. 49ers week 3, 10 points. The Raiders week 4, 32 points, but then when we met them the second time around, we decreased that number to 22. The Colts we kept to 12 points. The Chargers we held to 19 and 28 points respectively in those 2 games. Jets 16, Jaguars 17, Titans 17, Panthers 23, Ravens 10, although I will say Tyler Huntley was in, so that might have changed depending on if Lamar Jackson was playing, but still, with that Ravens offense with guys like Mark Andrews, that's still impressive. Chiefs 34 in the first game and then 27 in the second game. Cardinals 15, and then I feel like that Rams game, you know, that's the biggest outlier there, 51. I feel like, I don't know, it's the offense wasn't playing well, so I don't know if the defense was really trying super hard that game, but yeah, every set of data has its outlier, and that the Rams game is that outlier. So to me, Ejiro Evero, he picked up right where Vic Fangio left off. It's the same style of defense, and the defense still played to that level. That's why I want Ejiro Evero back on the coaching staff by some means next year, whether that be the DC, and if we don't get Sean Payton as our head coach, I would want Ejiro Evero to be our head coach over Dan Quinn. But That's just me. And I think that Ejiro Evero has done a great job for the Broncos. He's more than deserving of a head coaching position, in my opinion. It's going to be tough to lose him if we do, but yeah, he was by far the best coach on the Broncos coaching staff this year. Next up, Offensive Player of the Year. Once again, my favorite player, not only on the team, but in the entire NFL. It's Jerry Jeudy. We already talked a little bit about Jerry Jeudy, but yeah, he's also the Offensive Player of the Year. He was our best player on offense. He's always open. If you watch him on TV or go to the games, because my dad has season tickets, so I go to the games with him when I'm back in town. I will sit there and I'll watch Jerry Jeudy because he's my favorite player. And most every snap, he is almost always open. So we need to get him more involved, helping stretch the field, but also in the red zone, getting more touchdowns for him. But yeah, like I said, Jerry Jeudy, an absolute beast. You can see the stats again: 15 games, 67 receptions, 100 targets, 1,012 all-purpose yards, 972 receiving yards, 40 rushing yards, and 6 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy is an absolute beast and well-deserving of this Offensive Player of the Year award. As for Defensive Player of the Year, I'm giving that to Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons in 12 games missing, oh my gosh, he missed quite a bit of games due to an injury, but in 12 games, he had 42 solo tackles with 27 assist tackles. He had 69 tackles, total tackles. He defended 7 passes. He was tied for the league lead in interceptions with 6. That was a 4-way tie, I believe, but he also forced 3 fumbles and for a total of 9 turnovers, and he made he was a second team All-Pro, and I think that's like his 3rd time in his career that he's been on the second team All-Pro. So hopefully next year he can make first team All-Pro. I think he should have made it this year personally, and that just could be me being a biased Broncos fan, but when you're tied for the league lead in interceptions and you also have 3 additional forced fumbles on top of that for 9 total turnovers, I feel like that's deserving of first team All-Pro, but then again, he did miss some time with injury, so that might have been factoring into their decision to leave him off the first team All-Pro. But yeah, I think Justin Simmons definitely deserves Defensive Player of the Year. And finally, for our last award, that is going to be the MVP award for the Denver Broncos, and that is going to be cornerback Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain played in all 17 games, although I believe there was a scare in the Texans game where he had an injury and we thought he was going to miss time, but he rebounded. I think he actually left that game early, but then was able to start the following week. So he played in all 17 games. He had 46 solo tackles, 14 assist tackles for 60 total tackles. He defended 10 passes, and he has 2 interceptions. And it's crazy to think he even has 2 interceptions because most of the time, opponents and opposing quarterbacks don't even target Pat Surtain. They throw it the opposite direction because he's such a good corner and he just blankets that wide receiver 1 or whatever wide receiver he's covering. So the 2 interceptions, it was an insane diving interception against Patrick Mahomes where he was able to get his hands under the ball and pick him up. And that's what really started the almost comeback in that first game against the Chiefs. And then the second one, it was a garbage time interception against the Cardinals where Trace McSorley just threw it up and Surtain came down with it. But nonetheless, we'll take it. 2 interceptions. And he also forced a fumble. To me, Surtain, no doubt, was the MVP this year. I think he's the best player on our team at this present moment from this past season. So, yeah, Surtain, obviously one of the best corners in the league. I'm going to be biased. As a Broncos fan, I'm going to say he's the best. Other fandoms can disagree with that. Hey, that's fine. But I'm going to stick to my favorite team and say Patrick Surtain is the best corner in the NFL. If you're a Jets fan, you can say Sauce Gardner is. But I'm going to be a Broncos fan, and I'm going to say Pat Surtain is the best cornerback in the league. He's been solid. He's been the best player on the Broncos this so far, or I guess not so far, but this whole season. So he ends up with the MVP award, and I think it is very, very well deserved. Anyway, guys, that has been my Broncos awards. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Make sure if you haven't done so already, you subscribe to the channel and leave a like down below, as the support is greatly appreciated. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers by the Super Bowl, so if you could help me reach that goal, that'd be fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Parker, and peace out.